We have returned to the second half of the second class of a 4-class series on Kaivalya Upanishad, one of those 108 Upanishads. There must have been hundreds, they say, lost over time. But thanks to Vedavyas, whose system of Vedanta we're studying, he came along and saved so many of them at a later age. Because he's had so many incarnations. He's been our incarnation of the father of Vedanta over and over again. Krishna mentions that in the Gita. Incarnation of Krishna to save the Vedanta, just like in this Pada teaching we had about the seers keeping these philosophical systems in place in the world, no matter what, no matter who comes to them or not. From age to age, I reincarnate myself over the long efflux of time, Krishna says in the Gita. So, and darshanas come and go too. So they'll be masked and veiled. The mother will reveal them again, then they'll be veiled again. This is going on in the world all the time. With everything, really, cyclic. It's one of the problems of change. Mutability. So, like the Buddhists, for instance, so keen on immutability and changelessness. Akshara, how the one reality is imperishable, Krishna says in the Gita, and how difficult it is to keep your mind on that one fact alone, that the unreal never exists, the real never ceases to be. The truth about both has been known by the seers. So Krishna could have even said, the unreal never exists, so they just threw it away. The real only exists, so they concentrated on that. But he's saying they concentrated on both. So when you concentrate on the unreal, it's not just illusions. Like they used to give out the meaning for the word Maya as being illusion. But Vivekananda came 1893 here and he said, no, that's not a good meaning for Maya at all. Maya is name, form, time, space, and causality. 5-fold again. So you can always recognize Maya by those main characteristics. And then it's got 24 evolutes, it's got 8 malas, and it's got a whole bunch of teachings that Tantra, which is nice that I'm getting into it here, has brought forward to us and maintained. And Tantra is not listed as one of the orthodox darshanas. I say that's probably because it's so ancient and so vast. Because as I said, you had Shaivism, Vaishnavism, and Shaktism, and Ganapatya, Ganesha, and all that. That's worship of God with form. So Tantra majors in that. Vedanta, Buddhism, so forth. They think, well, let's go beyond form to formlessness. So you've got the Vedic river here, and then you've got the Tantric river here in India, 2 main streams. And sometimes you can't even figure out when they merge and when they come apart over this long efflux of time. So you have to keep your particular eye open to see that and take recourse to the seers, like we're doing. Kapila, Patanjali, Samkhya. There's no founder for Tantra. It's just you'd have to find lots of tantric adepts. And then Jainism, you think of the 24 Tirthankaras, Mahavir being the latest one, and he existing before the time of Buddha. So if you think of the ancientness of tradition, if Buddha was 550 years prior to Jesus, Jainism, Mahavir, was the 24th Tirthankara, so it's 24 generations before Buddha was this religion of nonviolence. There's no religion in the world like Jainism that is just completely careful about any kind of violence at all, holding even in thought, which, you can hold it in deed. That's difficult enough, especially in this world today. But in thought, that's very difficult to do. So we'll get to that. And then Shaivism, Lord Shiva would be at the head of that. Advaita Vedanta, what to say? There are many great souls like that, but we think Vivekananda is really the champion of Advaita Vedanta nowadays. He has come, he's returned as a manifestation of Sri Ramakrishna and Holy Mother as their son. And it really looks like Ramakrishna and Sarada are Krishna and Radha to us. and they're Sita and Rama to us, and they're Shiva and Shakti to us now. And so 5 million people have awoken to that fact, and they're amazed. And it's in a very short amount of time that this is gaining ground. We have a whole other sets of teachings around what we call the Kali Avatar, or the Matri Avatar, because it's the first time Divine Mother has assumed a form of divine manifestation. Sita and Rama were known basically just as the consorts of Rama and Krishna. But Holy Mother, she's a whole different level of manifestation now. That's the Kali Avatar, Matri Avatar. Mother has come, and she's come as attending upon Sri Ramakrishna with the son called Swami Vivekananda, and guess what? 15 other great sons. Brahmanandam, Shivam, Shantam, Premarupam, Niranjanam, Yogisham, Adbhutam, Nityam, Akhanadvaita, Lakshanam, Viganam, Trigunatitam, Turibeda, Samgitam, Subodham, Shardam, Chaiva, Viveka Shashi, that's Viveka, but those 3 sets of 5s came along with Vivekananda. So 16 great direct disciples, like Lord Buddha's Noble Eight and Christ's 12 Apostles. You'll always recognize a soul of an avataric dimension by the Ishwara Kotis, or those great souls that attend upon him. But this time Mother has come with him in a very pronounced way. So, well, don't get me started or I won't get done with the Kaivalya Upanishad, not that I have any hopes of doing that. It'll never be actually done anyway. You'll always have to be reconsidering it and looking into, but the whole premise of the first class and a half so far has been about Kaivalya being isolation, particularly from nature, but nature being twofold, manifested and unmanifested, and that twofoldness having all of these 24 cosmic principles in it, and how Kapila saw that and put it as a list. The father of yoga came along later and told you how to meditate upon it. Shankara came along later and basically told you, yes, that's the non-self, you've got it. If you meditated upon it, you should have recognized that that wasn't you. That that belonged to the mind, ego, intellect complex. We call that the body-mind mechanism in Vedanta. Or another nice word is psychophysical being. And so when we say that, we're saying all this in 2 words. Isn't it nice? Psychophysical being. That's there. That's your 3 bodies, or at least 2 of them. Because the deep sleep body is not known to us. Nobody knows himself in deep sleep except those realized souls. And they use it as a doorway to get to samadhi. So the deep sleep state, first time it was ever studied up close for a long time was in India. Sushupti and Swapna. So if you dream, you went from waking to dream, but where did you go when you disappeared? And waking and dream were not happening. When your 5 senses, your 10 senses actually were turned off, like a light switch. Who turned it off? Where was I then? And who was I then? So, as I said earlier, everyone's doing this naturally all the time. They're just not taking account of it, taking stock of it. They come back, things come dancing back in the mind out of deep sleep. They don't know that it came from seeds in their own self. And then they get attached to those things as manifestations and don't know the origin of them. Utpatti is a beautiful word in Sanskrit. Utpatti means they always sought for the origin of a thing. They weren't happy with the effect and the many effects. They went to the cause. And when they saw that cause, they saw that was the effect of another cause. And that cause, again, effect of another cause, that's involution you're doing. But you have to do it consciously. You can't just go to sleep tonight, go into deep sleep, go through dream, come back into waking, and do this over and over again for 100-year lifetime, and then have hundreds of lifetimes like that doing it over and over again without taking stock of what's going on, of what you're not. So this first class and a half so far has been about Kaivalya and dissolution, pointing a strong finger at that and saying, see, that came out as a manifestation and you have to dissolve it. You're doing it anyway, so why not do it consciously? And be the master of yourself. People in Buddhism don't like the self, but Buddha used it in the Dhammapada. He said, there are two selves. Who's the master? Of course, the larger self is master of the smaller self. It's right there in his earliest scriptures in the Hinayana path. So there's a small self that's masquerading all the time and taking you to the self. And then there's this great self that's looking on. And Buddha got that out of the Upanishads. Let's see. Om tachnayo ravrinnimhe gatum yogyaya gatum yenupate. Let's make an offering of the small self and everything it is into the great self. And let's delight in this offering. And let's revere the Lord and Mother of all sacrifices, all the gods, all the ancestors, all the humankind, all the rishis and teachers that we've had. And all 5 levels of beings. You see, there's another 5 there, the 5 kinds of sacrifices you do. That's Tantra, basically, you're talking about. That's the Tantric side of it, anyway. It's very hard to separate Vedanta from Tantra, but because Vedanta has its worship too. But I think the best way to put that is that Buddhism and Vedanta just stay clear of the personality, the form, the ego. Let it be as it is, kind of leave it alone, and let's draw back from it and make an offering of it into the great self, as I was saying. But Tantra is not a scare of it at all. Tantra just says, I'll deify it, you see, and I'll deify everything that came along with it. So many people love the Tantric path, and they shy away from the non-dualism at this point. But Vivekananda said the non-dualism will be the future religion of mankind. There is no doubt about that. It'll take 900 years for it to happen, basically. It's got a shelf life, you see. And we're just in the first 100 years or so of the return of non-duality, thanks to him and his master and the mother. Because they asked her once, what are we, followers of Ramakrishna? He's like the new dispensation. We know him, but how's the world going to know him? And what are we who follow him? Just, well, he was an Advaitist, so if you follow him, you're also an Advaitist. But you're also a mother worshipper. So that's called Shakta Advaita Vada. There are like some 40 paths I found in India. I've got a chart on them, of course. And one of those is Shakta Advaita Vada. So when our founder, Lex Hickson of SRV, and I saw that path, we went, whoa, there it is, you see. That's the one that really pertains to us, you see. The followers of the new dispensation, who are all up in arms and everything about this Dharma being the only solution to the problems of the world. There is no other solution than this wisdom. You can't meditate unless you have this wisdom. You can't act unless you have this wisdom. And you can't love God as long as this wisdom hasn't gotten rid of your ignorance. Doesn't it make sense? So, nahi jnanena sadrishyam pavitam iha vidyate. In the Gita, Krishna says, he's the God of love, right? So what's he talking about? You'll never know love unless you get rid of your ignorance, he's saying. Knowledge is the supreme purifier, he says. Nahi jnanena sadrishyam pavitram, purifier, vidyate, wisdom. So to me, and what my teacher taught me, and what the Ramakrishna Order Swamis taught me as I was with them, all centered around this Jnana Yoga. So as if they're saying, in this age you better take to these teachings, because if you do, your ignorance will die. The rest will be a piece of cake. You'll be able to love God without obstructions. You'll be able to meditate without impediments. And you'll be able to do selfless service. You'll be able to dissolve the worlds of name and form, time and space, into the absolute Brahman, exit the body easily. I'll show you that in a minute. So we will crush the stars to atoms. We will unhinge the universe. Don't you know who we are? Vivekananda wrote. We are the children of Sri Ramakrishna and Holy Mother. So this is what we want to expose as the new dispensation. And just like the 4 padas, we'll do it, even if we have to leave it behind for posterity, Because this is the only solution for the ills of this age, is the Dharma. Zen Buddhists, Tibetan Buddhists, Chinese Buddhists, they're all on the same page with this. This is what they've been trying to bring since the 70s. Each one of them had their little heyday, you see. Vedanta is still the underground river flowing, and it's coming forward. People are beginning to find it and take some of that elixir from it and become free souls, Jivan Muktas, and wake up from this sleep of ages. Wake up the note, the song that had its birth far off, where worldly taint could never reach, in mountain caves and glades of forest deep, whose calm no sigh for lust, wealth, or fame could ever dare to break, where rolls the stream of knowledge, truth, and the bliss that follows both. Sing high that note. Say Om Tat Sat Om. First verse, Song of the Sannyasin, Swami Vivekananda, which we've all memorized, and as long as the other 10 verses. So that's crushing the stars to atoms and unhinging the universe. None of this can stand in your way. It's all your own mental construct. Dissolve it. You can do it. The real you can do it, not the false you. The false you is all trapped in it. So if you look at Tantra, it's a vast system, but what could I put in just a 8 by 11 sheet of paper? I had to decide, deify all strata of existence. The Vedas, after all, were based upon the 5 sacrifices. You did sacrifices to the humans and subhumans, plants and animals, insects are all included in that. You did sacrifice to the ancestors, Pitri Yagya. You did sacrifice to the gods and goddesses. Remember, all these things are inside of you, not back or up. And you did sacrifices to the great teachers and rishis, and you did sacrifice to mankind, Nara Yoga. So all those sacrifices are there, so Tantra wasn't following any different route when it said, that's a great system, let's use it and deify everything, you see. So how did it do that? There it is, basically. Gods, goddesses, celestials, ancestors, elementals, humans, animals, insects, and plants. All of those are expressions of Brahman. And if you were advanced enough in Samkhya, Yoga, and Vedanta, you would agree. But if you weren't advanced enough, they would say, no, that's not right. You don't take that path. You renounce them. Because those very things you're not ready to take on and call the non-self yet. You'll get mixed up with them. Won't you? If you shake the booty, won't you? The booty is, the intellect. So it's a pun, yeah. But basically you don't want to shake that. You want to just leave it. You stick a stick in a mud puddle, like I did when I was a kid, until all the sediment comes up. Come back for days after that, and the sediment's still there. Finally, on a day, it all finally settled, and the mud puddle was clear again. That's the mind you're talking about. Shall I stir it up again? So as we were talking about in the break, you have to be 100% certain of what you're not. And they give you a list. Here, take this with you to Earth. It's just like the guru saying, or the mother saying, okay, wink, go down there. Yes, you can go there. Don't forget who you are, and here, take this list, it'll help you. Well, but I'm not very good at lists. I'm better at meditation. Okay, take Patanjali's list. Meditate on these. See? Not very good at that either. I don't like details. Well, take Vedavyasa's list of the 5 koshas. See, and then know that you're not the 5 sheaths. 5 sheaths, those are coverings around something. You used to pull out, when you were a kid, pull out grass from the outer sheath, the inner sheath, and eat that nice, yummy little inner core, you see. It came out of a sheath, you see. A picture frame has a picture in it. That's a sheath. Everything here is covered. So you have to get good at taking off the coverings. right? So basically, the Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manamaya, Vijnanamaya, and Anandamaya Kosha. But there you see the list of Tantra. Since we're in the middle column, let's just go down to Kundalini Yoga. How do they do it? Is it Vedic or is it Tantric? My God. It's the most mystical, unique system that India has ever produced. We can say that. And I think the greatest Kundalini Yoga teacher is Sri Ramakrishna. If he is the avatar and the Lord, that would of course be the case. But you read the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna and how many times he's talking about Kundalini Yoga there. And there will be no spiritual advancement without Shakti, he said, without the awakening of Shakti. Vivekananda followed suit later and said, there'll be no regeneration for India unless you start worshipping Shakti again. So that's why Holy Mother has come, to bring out that wisdom goddess in everything. But the Tantras say, she whom the seers of India remember from age to age as the imperishable power, is the meaning in all the words, slokas and sutras. She's the meaning in them. She doesn't just show you the meaning, she is the meaning in them. Without her, all the tattvas would be like clouds with no rain. She is the perfect I consciousness in everything. She exists in the multitude of words, and she's the secret of all the mantras. And she's the sole essence of non-duality. I mean, that's the Tantras. Om Mantranam Jiva Bhuta Tuya Smrita Yo Shakti Rupaya is the Sanskrit there. See? So, how does Kundalini, where it started from, no founder, again like Tantra, it draws inwards, draws Shakti inwards up to 7 chakras, basically. Remember when I was talking at the beginning of class about akashas and lokas and ethers? Well, that's what these chakras are caught up this ladder that's like the spine but isn't the spine. It's not a bony structure that you've come from. Everyone knows that. Just like God isn't up there, it's in here. We have to snap to and get rid of the superstition of ages. So these chakras are inner vortexes of whirling with spiritual Shakti power. Very powerful at the base. See, mixed there. Poisons and nectars, both, in all of them. So you pull this, you attract this Divine Mother Kundalini power. She loves learning, knowledge, see. She wants to get to Shiva here, see. And you're keeping her from that, is one way of putting it. So if she makes a rush for him, and you have to hang on to her coattails, and it sounds like it's going upward, but it's really going inwards. So there it is, Muladhara, Svadhisthana, Manipura, Anahata, Vishuddha, Agya, and Sahasrara. 7 great centers. Sounds like Bur, Bhuvar, Swar, Janhar, Janha, Mahar, Tapar, Satyaloka, right? Isn't it? Different ages, 7 worlds, 7 chakras. So they thought in terms of these kinds of inner locations. I feel really incomplete leaving Kundalini at that, but we have to move on. Let's look at Jainism. How its main thing is to remove all avenues to violence. Remove all avenues to violence. It took me a long time to think of this. How does Jainism dissolve things? It really goes about it by ahimsa. And so how would that be? I looked at the Jain teachings out of some of the Samhitas, and I had to condense. I said, well, first of all, they're going to dissolve evil thought. Then they're going to restrain evil speech. And then they're going to observe careful movement. You don't even want to move a piece of furniture without looking, if there's anything living there that you're going to kill. And you want to avoid impure places, where impure acts are being done. You want to renounce violent vocations, like say you wouldn't want to get an excavation job or forestry or something. Jane wouldn't be anywhere near those kinds of vocations where you're going to kill so many life forms. And you want to refrain from killing. This is a condensation out of a lot of teachings in Jainism that could give us an idea of how innately sensitive they are. How and I have to say here that from those who've informed me about Jainism, like Swami Brahmishananda in the Ramakrishna order, when he went on pilgrimage and tended all the Jain temples and wrote an article for us in our magazine about Jainism, that they're really not concerned with not killing anything. Because they're here in this fold, they know that nothing's born, nothing dies. So it just wouldn't make sense to blame them. So, they put a mask around their face so they won't kill a bug. They know they're going to kill things. It's unavoidable. But they figure karma comes from those actions. If they want to get to Kaivalya, there's a lot of weights on them already. So let's take off those weights that are unnecessary. So we're going to be very sensitive, we're going to be very careful, we're not going to add the killing of things onto the burden that we may already be carrying as we make our way towards divine reality. So the reason that they're so careful is to reduce karma to a minimum. That would make much more sense than to think, I'm not going to kill a bug because that bug is just a piece of prana, If you kill a insect, it's not that, it's not going to be that much karma. Especially if you say, go on to another better life. If you do it like we say. But killing an animal, killing a human, so forth, killing a Brahmin priest, that goes up a ladder of killing that of course is going to bring more effect back on you, more karmic effect. Arjuna on the battlefield having to kill his relatives. I mean, you get into this whole thing about what does real ahimsa mean in India. Because Krishna is not keeping him from going out and killing. It's one of the criticisms leveled at Krishna by people of low understanding. Alpameda. They don't have any real intelligence criticizing the Lord. He wasn't even involved in the battle. So, whatever the case may be, how to do without doing, there's great teachings that come out of the duality of violence and nonviolence, of life and death. And those are the things you want to keep your mind on as you go through these things, as these things happen to you. That focus is, again, very necessary. So if you say you're on the battlefield or something, but all of a sudden you say, well, Lord Kaivalya told me that I'm not this. Oh, well then I'm not that, what I'm killing. I'm not even the killer. Because the Atman doesn't act. No karma accrues to the Atman for doing anything, and he's giving me everything that's the non-Atman, the Anatman, and he's told me that I'm the Atman, so now I'm on the battlefield just dispatching things that are not real. And if I'm doing it with that mindset, I'm not accruing any karma. Someone else can come along tomorrow and kill those people that I would have killed today anyway. Or step on that bug I might have killed yesterday but didn't. What's the difference here? Nothing's born, nothing dies. So then it's just a matter of how much karma can you bear? How much do you want to neutralize the effects of actions each day rather than spend your time worshiping the Lord? It's not like the self can't perform miracles, but doesn't the self rather want to merge itself in Brahman? These are all thoughts that come up as I consider Jainism. How about Shaivism? They basically commune with and transcend the 12 higher tattvas. I told you about the 12 higher tattvas. Did I bring it? I did. There it is, nicely on the Shiva Lingam. There you see here's 13 through 24, see that? Cosmic principles of Samkhya, Antakarna down to the element earth. That's here, right? Those are the 24 cosmic principles. So the Shaivites took a look at Lord Kapala's system, meditated on them, like Patanjali wanted you to do, and then in keeping with their adoration of Lord Shiva, which is Tantra, and keeping the philosophical systems alive, the padas and so forth, then they said, well, there's an umbrella of principles above the Purusha. See, so down here that's why I put Purusha and Prakriti, right? And that was considered ultimate reality. But what is the Purusha? And what are the inner dynamics of it? So these are very subtle principles called vibrating spheres, or spandas, you see. So the 12 higher spandas of Shaivism. And there you have it, top down, Shiva and Shakti, of course. Sadashiva, Ishwara. Sadakya is in parens, because in some lists of Shaivism, Sadakya replaces Bindu, Nada, and Tita. But I'm putting it there because it's so important. Then Nada, that's that sound. Shuddha Vidya, pure knowledge. Maya is there. That's Maya's origin in the higher tattvas. Kalas and Kala, time and its phases, that's where they come from. So you say, can be the Purusha, but I don't really know what attracts people, you see. That's raga. That's the power of attraction in things. So people say, oh, magnet, filings to a magnet, baby to the mother. All these levels of attraction, where does that originate? Right there in the 12 higher principles inside yourself. Those are the dynamics of the soul. The dynamics of the soul. These are subtler and subtler principles that you're going to have to encounter on the way to realization. So it's like Shaivism saying, I know there's some things that you wish were in Kapala's list, but aren't. You're thinking now about these beautiful things like Ishwara. Why are they having us meditate on Ishvara with the mantra nowadays? See? Why are they having us seek Shuddha Vidya, pure knowledge, and giving us out the Dharma? And why is Maya flummoxing us? And where is its origin? So if you go into this system, there you find it all listed. So you want to commune with, then transcend these 12 higher tattvas. And here's the difference between Vidya and Shuddha Vidya, mixed knowledge and pure knowledge. If you see this side order, everything here is impure, everything here is pure, and everything here is transcendent. Shiva and Shakti being transcendent. So they put it in terms of Shuddha, Shuddha, and Ashuddha in Sanskrit. So these are triple-tiered, these 12. And you come to know them and classify them that way. What are they? Well, we just read them. And here's Purusha at the bottom, you see. So I thought about this too and thought it would be nice to explain it this way, is that everything in the 24 cosmic principles of the non-self has a jagged vibration. Spanda means vibrating sphere, right? I said. So let's put some vibrations there. So everything there has a wavy vibration. Finally it's like less wavy, and finally it's straight, and finally it disappears completely. So as the mind vibrates, grosser, subtler, enters into a causal state, like deep sleep state, and finally goes transcendent, like in Brahman, these are different waves of the mind giving up. So if you know this secret of yoga chitta vritti nirodha, as Patanjali says, getting into union is dissolving the waves of the mind, he says. Getting into union with God is dissolving the waves of your own mind. There's the dissolution right there. First you'd have to know it all came out of your mind, then you could use the mind to dissolve it. You can't just jump to that, you see, in meditation. Should I say you need the knowledge, destroy the ignorance, then meditate. People have been meditating now since the 60s and 70s. Where's our illumined souls in America? Where are they? I don't think there are any. Or are you hiding them from me? Because I'm not seeing the product. We're not, my teacher used to say, Vivekananda has been here, I've been here. See? Where's your Jivan Mukta? Where's your liberated soul? I want to see him, I want to meet him. How long are you going to take to produce a liberated soul in this country? So some of us have to be about that challenge. Become a Jivan, embodied, Mukta, liberated, while in the body. That's what they're looking for from us. Watching the Ramakrishna order on Durga Puja last week, dissolving her into the river at the end of Navaratri, hundreds of monks dancing around in ecstasy, and some brahmacharis in white. Well, there's your liberated souls. India's got them in droves. If they're not liberated, they're sure damn well going to be, if they have anything to say about it. So where's our intensity for that? Where's our intensity for freedom? It's all caught up in thinking that we're the tattvas instead of the Atman. We have to reverse that. We're the Atman, not the tattvas. The tattvas, you see. Pick a path. But aren't they pretty much saying the same thing? You know, get it out of the way and see the truth. You're sitting in one position. Things are in your way. So Ramakrishna used to say, if I want to get to this thing, oh, what a drag. Well, I have to do it. Pick this up to get to that. You see, the stack of books, you want the one on the bottom. You have to get rid of the others. It's a big drag. Well, these are stacks of books. And you're going to have to get to your Atman. You're going to have to slough them off one by one, just like a snake gets rid of its old skin, he said. And that's the work you have to do. But the result is that you'll find out that you're not just free, you're eternally free. That bondage was a dream you were in. And it was under your own auspice that you bound yourself. God, devil had nothing to do with any of that. That's superstition. So this is the voice of freedom. Vedanta is titled The Voice of Freedom. It's a nice book titled that. Vedanta, The Voice of Freedom. It just takes you in right where you are, you see. And does all this for you as far as lists, but then you have to go and prove it to yourself. That's the journey of the alone to the alone. Or another way I heard it was the adventure of consciousness. See, you just have to be like a Sherlock Holmes. See, game's afoot. It's called Maya. I want to see through it. Where's morality? See, what's deluding me? Can hardly wait to see the truth. It's got to be that kind of intensity. It's not like they're not giving you plenty of opportunities to wake up. But you have to follow through. So Shaivism, just to say, you see, you can see these tattvas here. Now, according to my time, I mean, because I did want to show you Sadakya, but that's so involved, but it's so beautiful at the same time. Half hour. I think to finish a chart is good. So Advaita Vedanta is there. And, you know, that's why we put this up for ease. We saw it last week, though. It pretty much, both Yoga and Vedanta take this idea of dissolution to the mind stream. Buddhism uses it too. They're a little different terms and so forth, but you can look at this chart this way while I use this chart to describe what you're doing. You want to dissolve the mind stream in meditation. Remember, you know, before you can meditate, you have to know what you're not, because you'll find your meditation concentrating on everything you're not, right? And that'll happen to both the novice and the practitioner. Practitioner will try and meditate. Why am I thinking of that? Why am I thinking of that? Okay, give him a mantra. Do the mantra. Well, I forgot the mantra for 10 minutes while I thought about this garbage in my mind. So basically, you know, Advaita Vedanta wants you to start out with that mind that's been qualified to sit still and quiet. I mean, you saw it there in yoga, right? You get rid of the 5 distractions, you get rid of the the various, where was it? It was somewhere back here. You get rid of all those, I think it's right there in that chart. You get rid of the 5 aids, you get to 5 aids to steadiness, you master the mind 7 ways, 4 levels of yogic mastery. Yoga is the practice, Vedanta is the truth. And Samkhya provided you the cosmological underpinnings. See? So if you take those 3 pillars, which we were doing when we read the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna in 1960 and 70, but we never knew how much was there, what he was saying, which was Samkhya, which was Yoga, and which was Vedanta, and which was Advaita. We're amazed later to look back on it every time we read it and say, wow, the Master had all that, plus Kundalini Yoga, coursing through that whole book. That's the new Gita, right there, Gospel of Ramakrishna, for this age. So if you want to look at dissolving the mind stream, start out with the 5 elements, merge them into the 10 senses, and here's where it gets a little bit more involved, from the Samkhya into the 5 tanmatras, and then into the 5 pranas. Those were not mentioned in Kapil's system. So Vivekananda came here and he said, oh, I see you in the West here. You don't know what prana is. Oh, you don't know what the tanmatras are. Poor things. How are you going to go inside if you don't know the life force? Man does not live by bread alone. You think he lives by bread alone, so you don't know that the prana is not just food prana. It's a vehicle which Vishnu rides. It's called Garuda. And it courses through all the veins. But you think those are just physical veins. But inside of each physical vein, there's 100,000 subtle veins called nadis. And consciousness is coursing along those at 7 different chakras, right? If it's coursing along only the lower 3, hundreds and thousands of them, then it gets reborn on earth after it visits its ancestors in heavens. But if that prana can course to subtler nadis, subtler lokas, opens up the heart, like Mahachamasya did at an age, then all of a sudden this great loka beyond the 3 worlds comes available to people. And they can meditate in the heart chakra. If they meditate in the heart chakra, they don't return to earth again, ever, unless they want to, in full consciousness. They're not pulled to earth like a mongoose with a brick on its tail, as Ramakrishna said, pulled down from its hole in the wall. So tanmatras, divide those 10 senses into the 5 tanmatras, those 5 tanmatras into the 5 pranas, and those into the fourfold mind. That into the cosmic mind, that into the word, and that into the Atman. So you could see how Advaita Vedanta's system of dissolving the mind stream, which thanks to the work of these great rishis who have kept these teachings present on earth for us to discover, some of us, when you say here, the hidden, you see. Teach me that knowledge of Brahman, which is hidden, by which the wise drive away all these transgressions and reach the Purusha. It's hidden. Mother hides it. She doesn't want it just anyone to have it. Ignorant people can't get it. You don't strew pearl before swines. They'll make a mockery out of it. They have. They're already starting to, or well into it. So basically, this is hidden and just open to those few who are sincerely seeking the truth. So that's beautiful that it all gets into the word. You can see it here, flowing into Om, the pranava. See? The Shabda Brahma, they call it, the sound God. And then that flowing into the indivisible self, and that into the ocean of consciousness called, what's it called? Well, I'll be Kaivalya Pragbara. You mean that word Kaivalya lasted all that time, and it actually still means something? It's an ocean of freedom. Back here on earth, what was it? Samsara Pragbara. It was an ocean of bondage. So there's the difference between Samsara Sagara and Ananda Sagara. Samsara sagar is an ocean of suffering. Ananda sagar is an ocean of bliss. Where would you like to be at the end of your life? What to speak of during your life? Well, that gets into the next sloka. In a secluded place, sitting in an easy posture, pure, with a neck, head, and body held erect, living in the last of the orders of religious life, having controlled all the senses and all the tattvas, saluting your own preceptor with reverence, meditating within the lotus of the heart upon Brahman, be untainted, pure, clear, and griefless. See, the Upanishads don't mince words. He said, Ashvalyana said, tell me the knowledge of Brahman. Here it is, get ready, got your notebooks out, or hopefully you have a retentive memory, because Lord Brahma's not going to stop to let you get a pen and pencil. Oh, you want to hear the knowledge of Brahman? Here it is. It's like an auction. See, my dad used to call it auctions. Oh, I sold a bargain. And thousands of words rolled out his list while people were still signing their checks. So he's giving, reading out the Riot Act on Maya, at the same time giving out the knowledge of Brahman. And there it is in one sloka. Actually, that was 2 slokas. So let's just consider that this chart is done, because I read that, I just told you, and we looked through Advaita Vedanta. And in sloka 4 and 5, so that we can make a little headway in the scriptures, let's look at this same thing called 6 illumined thoughts at the time of death. We can refer back to this chart at another time, maybe at the seminar next month. There's a few refinements that have to be made in it. But this is out of the Gita, some of it. 6-fold process of immersion in Brahman. Let a person remain wherever he may be, and wherever he learns that his end is approaching, even if he has not practiced or prepared or done anything meritorious acts, even if he becomes senseless at the time of death, when dispassion visits the mind, gets temporarily clear and free of worldly thoughts, let this one think the following. Close all the gates to the body. Confine the mind within the head. Fix the life energy in the heart. Engage in yoga. Utter the monosyllable Om, and think of me alone. The one who departs, leaving the body, in that way attains to the supreme goal. Whose words? Sri Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. You'll find it in the Bhagavad Gita. So doesn't it sound like the Upanishad we just read? In a secluded place, sitting in easy posture, pure, with the neck, head, body erect, living in the last of the orders of religious life, having controlled the senses, saluting your preceptor, meditating within the lotus of your heart on Brahman, untainted, pure, clear, and griefless. And I'll go on, meditating on that one who is unthinkable, unmanifest, with endless forms, all good, who is peaceful, immortal, who is the origin of all the worlds, who is without beginning, middle, and end, the only one, who is all-pervading consciousness and bliss, who is formless and wonderful. Meditating on this highest Lord, allied with Uma, that's Divine Mother, powerful, three-eyed, blue-necked, and tranquil, that's Shiva, the holy man reaches him, who is the source of all, the witness of all, and is beyond darkness, i.e. avidya. He is Brahma, he is Shiva, he is Indra, he is the immutable, the supreme, the self-luminous. He alone is Vishnu. He is the prana. He is time and fire. He is the moon. He alone is all that is, was, and ever will be. He is the eternal. Knowing him, one transcends death. There is no other way to freedom. There, we've made it through 9 slokas of the Kaivalya Upanishad. And we have to make it through about 14 more, which we'll do next week and the week after. But in the meantime, with still 15 minutes, I wanted to, well, let's finish this, because here's what you say to yourself as this is going on. These are teachings from 2 different sources. First you'd say to yourself, Vedantically, I have no connection with this body, which is merely the outcome of karma. That sounds like you should probably know this, right? To be able to say that. Because the 5 elements and the 5 senses are your physical body. And then you have a subtle body too. So this is why you can accept this when you hear it. 2, this body composed of 5 elements will soon be destroyed, for all forms are liable to decay and destruction. Must be 3:30, 4 in the morning. I wake up and think about that almost every night. I'm 72 now almost. I'll lose this form. What's the main thing I want to be thinking about when I lose it? The light of Brahman, the truth of Brahman. If I go any other way, it's going to go bad for me. See? If I go any other direction, it's not going to be good. That's where you focus, on the third eye, focused in the head and the heart, which are two who are one at that place. No, those aren't different chakras now. You've rendered them all into one. Okay. So this is the 6 things to say at the time of death, and how to immerse yourself in Brahman. Third, say, therefore, there is no cause for remorse regarding the approach of death. I am neither a worldly person nor a material object, probably would be clear again. So death is not capable of doing any harm to me. My essence is pure, void of all qualities. That's number 5. I am the Supreme Soul. Number 6, I am always free. I am always the eternal Brahman. Who said it? Divine Mother. In the Srimad Devi Bhagavatam. There are 3 great mother scriptures in the world. They're all in India. And one of them is called the Srimad Devi Bhagavatam. It's about this thick. I've read it all. And she has all of her beautiful teachings in there, hidden amongst a lot of stories, because Itihasa, Indian scripture, has a lot of stories in it to depict the teachings. And it's very good that they are, that they're there. So a quick run through this chart, which we don't look at very often, but nice juxtaposition between Sri Krishna's 6 and Divine Mother's 6, isn't it? So, instructions and what to say to yourself, basically, isn't it? Now, I at least want to broach with the remaining 15 minutes this chart that it has to be one of my favorites, and it's also very new. I've only shown it once, but here is where it comes from. We just read it, Sloka 7. Meditating on the highest Lord, allied to Uma, powerful, 3-eyed, blue-necked, and tranquil, the holy man reaches him who is the source of all, who is the witness of all. Witness consciousness is called Shakti Chaitanya. So there you are, after you've done all of this. Or, let's say, one of these. After you come to know what you're not, you can know who you are. At that point, this is Kaivalya. You're in a witness consciousness state. It's the best thing to attain short of samadhi. It's the penultimate station to everything. And look what he's looking out on. This vast set of tattvas and principles. Shall we start and go down in the 15 minutes? He's a knower of the word and its processes. So all the vibrations that have come out of AUM and Turiya beyond it, he's looking at all of that vibration that's coming from the word. How did Jesus put it? In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. That's 3 things. In the beginning was the Word. So people went running off thinking, oh, he believes in a beginning. Jesus knew everything was originless, that there was no beginning, middle, and end to anything. He said so as Krishna 5,000 years earlier. So he was saying in the beginning was the world, meaning in the beginning of each cycle, the Word is there. It vibrates. How does it vibrate? It's an unstruck sound. How do they call it? They call it the unstruck sound. It's an epithet of Brahman. The unseen seer is another way they call it. The inactive agent, the unmoved mover, the uncaused caused, the unstruck sound we said, the unattached lover, I like that one, the unborn procreator, the formless refuge, the creator, and the unknowable knower. This would be how they call Brahman. Oh, you can't describe Brahman, well, we'll give our best try. You see, as far as words can tell, this is how you could describe Brahman. But they're all contradictions, aren't they? It can never be brought into form. It can never be nature. The real me is none but he, and never, never matter changing, Vivekananda said to Mary Hale. Oh, Mary Hale, I tell you true, you mar my doctrines, wronging, balking. I never taught such queer thought, that all is God, unseeming talking. But this I say, remember, pray, God is real, all else is nothing. The real me is none but he, and never, never matter changing. See the beauty of it. I never taught that all is God. But I did say that God is all else is nothing. I can put it that way to you. Yeah, you turn it on its end. Because people are making all sorts of mistakes. Just read Gaudapada's Karika about making the Atman into a job, or making an Atman into an occupation, or making an Atman into a child, or making an object into this, and whatever they like. Dumbing Brahman down as if that could ever be done. It can never be done. Atma Brahma is formless, nameless, and it doesn't have any karma in it. You're talking about the tattvas. You talk about karma forming. Starting with mind and out, right? That's where the whole shooting match gets started. Then the game's afoot. But Vivekananda said that the Atman dreams is all nonsense. It's the mind that's dreaming. So wake up. Wake up to your Atman. So the meaning of the word, you see, pure conscious awareness infills everything, is the idea here. Over here is called dynamics of higher perception. What are those? They're just what you looked at, the 12 higher spandhas. Those are what the witness is seeing, you see, as it looks out from its perch down all the way to earth. See, it's seeing the connection linked together all the way down to the element earth. That's how the witness becomes the witness. That's why the Upanishad about Kaivalya says that. See, it is the witness of all. It is beyond darkness, beyond avidya. After that, and I'm going through it quick, you see then everything from there down has to do with the seer of time and space. It's there. On this other mountain, controller of name and form. Stretched out above that, communion with all the deities. See? So Sri Ramakrishna had meditation and communion with all the deities. Oh, Mother Sita, she was so beautiful. See? And I had a vision of Christ. I had a vision of Moses. I had a vision of Lakshmi. I had a vision of Jesus. All these deities inside of himself, where he saw them. They would come out of him like a beam of light. He'd see them. They'd go back into him. So all the gods and goddesses are there within the self, the great self. And then remover of appearances happens about that. You see, the deities, the gods, the goddesses are all taking on forms, facing away from the word. But when they want to give up their forms, they'll face back to the word, and they'll dissolve everything in between them. time, space, Maya, lower wisdom, higher wisdom, remember them all? All the way up to Sadashiva, Ishwara, and finally to Shiva and Shakti themselves. They just commune with them and take them on, because they're all right there. See? They all came out of the self. Apparently so. As the observer, the witness consciousness, looks further out, as you could say, from the subtle body down to the causal body, down to the physical body, it sees all these things. There you see the hero, the guardian of all souls it becomes. Like Hanuman. You see, Hanuman was the great guardian of all souls. And master of life and rebirth it becomes. And the destroyer of death. Those are those two waterfalls. See. We salute those three great beings who are the essence of life and existence, who are masters of life and remover of the misery of the devotees. May they be pleased to accept our offerings as a prayer in the Ramakrishna order to Holy Mother and Sri Ramakrishna. We salute those three great beings, those two great beings. So they master of life and rebirth, and they destroy death. Destroy the idea of death, because it doesn't belong there. There, finally, we get to knower of the 24 cosmic principles. Lower perception, higher perception. 36 in all now we have. So, what are they? Can you list them yet? Earth, air, fire, water, eating, seeing, tasting, touching, hearing, smelling, so forth. By fives. If you memorize them by fives, then you'll know what you're not. You know what this appearance is, so you can remove it. All the way down to the adept holder of prana. See, like the Garuda. Is that knows prana at all levels. Not just the prana of the body, I was saying, not just the prana of the breath, and not just the prana of the subtle body, but the psychic prana too. There's a prana that moves thoughts, and that's why these two are so close together, you see. Adept holder of prana, my thoughts are moving, now I want to hold them. That's your prana, psychic prana that's doing that. If you're master of it, you can think when you want. Advaita says that, and you can withdraw thoughts. Don't you see, thought and mind belong to me. I'm not them, he says. I'm not mind and thought. They belong to me. So he puts that spin on it for us. And protector of the three worlds, like those beings who keep these great systems for us on the world. The great gurus, preceptors, acharyas, rishis, yogis, and so forth. They have an eye out for us. Vivekananda said, at one time he said, I will come back 1,000 times if I can help one person out of suffering. I'm forgetting the line he used just before that, but he says, I may find it very good to give up my body and be free, but I will not cease working and helping the earth. I will come back 1,000 times if I can even help one person get free, he said. Talk about a bodhisattva vow. So here, Lord Vashishta says at the bottom, because I took you through this in a whirlwind, but it's pretty much summates a lot of what we've been talking about, how to be witness of all these things, knowing what you're not, to know who you are. You're getting very, very close to that when you have Sakshibhutam, witness of all phenomena. That's all phenomena out there. Some people know that, but don't know that they projected it. So that's the first connection to make. It came from the mind-only schools. Second thing would be that the mind can be turned off too and transcended. That's why you have upper tattvas. Ishwara to meditate on and so forth. And then there's a formless reality beyond Ishwara too. Some people don't like to think about that. They like to stay with form. So Lord Vasishta, just like Aishvalyana here, right? He's taking teachings from Lord Brahma. Lord Vasishta was one of Lord Brahma's mind-born sons. There were 10 of them. So he says, when you attain witness consciousness, the process of how the body-mind complex becomes attached to the realm of matter, consisting of 5 elements, will be seen clearly. Detached, you will then know yourself as the mere onlooker of such imaginary processes. In amazement, you will wonder why the ever-free Atman ever wanted to wrap itself in the sheaths of nature. Like a worm spinning itself within a many-layered chrysalis. Oh, it is all so perplexing. This game of Maya is all so perplexing. From the body up to reality. So we could sing about it to end. Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam Mudhamate, Samprapte Sanihite Kale, Nahi Nahi Rakshati Dukrin Karane, Mudhajahi Danagana Trishnam, Kurusad Budhim Manasi Vitrishnam, Vyalabase Nijakarmo Patam, Vitam Teno Vinodaya Chitam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam Mudhamate, Samprapte Sanihite Kale, Nahi Nahi Rakshati Dukrin Karane. About nature and the body. Yavat panavano nivasati dehi, tavat prachati kushalam gehi, gatavati vayu deha paye, arya bhavavyati tashmin kaya, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam mudhamate, samprapte sanihite kale, nahi nahi rakshati dukren karane. Bhaja Govindam, in which he sings about this not self, which is a good way to end this. O mind, rid yourself of the desire for the accumulation of things. Create in your mind thoughts about reality devoid of attachment and passions. As you look upon nature, be satisfied by what you achieve only through your own past deeds. For so long as your lungs function, just so long will the household inquire about your welfare. Once the breath leaves your body, however, they will shun your body like an unclean thing. Through the company of the good arises non-attachment. Through non-attachment arises freedom from delusion. Through freedom of delusion arises steadfastness. And from steadfastness arises liberation in this life. Om, peace, peace, peace. Peace be unto us, peace be unto all. Om Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om Tat Sat.